All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting masterclass hosted by the IAPC&M. I'm your host, Elena Nedeva, APC, and I'm so delighted to be here with you. We have dedicated today to unraveling what spiritual coaching is. And when we were contemplating who to invite as a guest speaker, immediately the name of Dr. Anish Rakheja came to mind. He's a global speaker, creator of the Arise coaching model and NDP, a unique astro profiling framework for discovering one's own unique natural strengths and tendencies. Dr. Anish offers holistic coaching solutions through a blend of ancient wisdom and modern methodologies. With his philosophy rooted in the Sanskrit concept of Purnam, which means infinitum, and a personal commitment to unlocking human potential and shaping future leaders, Dr. Anish leads the worldwide I Can retreats powered by the CRESCON movement, and an unforgettable experience for the participants in their quest for self-discovery and impactful living. Anish actually has a very interesting saying which made me smile so much. And I quote him. There is a wise way of living, and then there is otherwise. Anish strongly believes in playing the game of life in such a way that at the end of the day, life stands up and says, well played. Wow, this is so wisely said. Thank you for sharing, Anish. So, without further ado, Anish, welcome. We're delighted to welcome you once more, and I'm so privileged to be your host today.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Thanks for those kind words. And whenever I listen to any introduction, I just feel a bit hesitant. Not that the standards are being set high or anything. It's just that from an authenticity perspective, I start peeping into my own journey, and it just takes me into a different zone. But Elena, thanks a lot. Thanks for a beautiful introduction, and I'm so happy, so glad to be back here once more.
Thank you. So, for everyone participating here in this webinar, and for the people that are watching us live, which we discovered are actually quite a few. We are live streaming on Facebook and LinkedIn. This is going to be an interactive session. I've prepared a set of questions for Anish, and I always love coming up with these questions, and I want to share with everybody, we haven't practiced, we haven't rehearsed. I genuinely prepare my questions, and Anish just embraces this with curiosity. So let's give this a go once more. Anish, please tell us about what spiritual coaching is.
I anticipated this one, so I'm prepared for this question, Elena. And yeah, I've been asked this so many times, what do you understand by spiritual coaching? And the best way to find an answer, I thought, okay, let me put it on ChatGPT, what it says about spiritual coaching. What is spiritual coaching? And I just jotted down the lines that the ChatGPT gave me, and then maybe we take it from there. So when I asked it that what is spiritual coaching, so it said that spiritual coaching is a holistic practice that blends traditional coaching techniques with spiritual principles to help people connect with their inner selves, discover their life purpose, and align their actions with their core values. Now that's a mouthful. And I was trying to unravel that what is it that spiritual coaching truly is. And to me, it's all about realizing the misconception of two things. The misconception about the person and the misconception about the phenomena. That's what spiritual coaching is to me.
I understand. And can you clarify for us what you mean by phenomena?
Sure. let's say you have, when you clap, what do you have? You have two hands.
Yeah.
So for a sound to come, the clapping, two-hand clapping is required, right? So one hand, take it as a person, as a subject, as I, what we call as I. And the other hand is, let's say, the word, the phenomena, the object. So when a subject and object interact, what happens? A sound comes out, right? So all any interaction for anything, the subject and object coming together is required. Now, what happens if there is a misconception about what this I is? And what happens if there is also a misconception about what the word is? Now, two misconceptions coming together. What do you foresee happening?
If I was to answer this question, I foresee a turmoil.
A turmoil, a chaos, a suffering, a disassociation. So the moment now, what's the solution? You got these two hands. A misconception you have about what this I is, and a misconception we have about what the word, the object is. So if we remove this misconception, even if we remove one misconception, to quite an extent it would serve the purpose, isn't it? Now there is no sound. Even though if you go through a Zen way, they would say, okay, now meditate on the one hand clapping sound. Well, that's a different koan altogether. We will not go there. But yeah, but then just removing one hand, clearing one misconception, Elena, either of the self, which is the subject, or the object, which is a phenomena, the turmoil dissolves. And imagine if both the conceptions, both the misconceptions are removed, what a beautiful bliss it is. That's the natural state. So it's going back to our natural state is what the spiritual coaching is all about.
Very, very interesting indeed. So can we actually conclude that the main task of a spiritual coach is to help coachees get back to the original state of being?
Absolutely. So it's like an inner transformation when you move away from the outer conformations. So the more that we, of these two, either we are focusing on the self, which is like an inner transformation, and or we are realizing about the reality about the word, or we are working on both, whichever way it is, because it again depends from the start position of the coachee, that where the coachee is. And from that point, when the journey starts, we see that which is the closest where the as-is position of the coachee, from where the journey can start from either side, can start from the person side, can start from the phenomena side, can start from the subject side, can start from the object side. Now, this is purely experiential because I have come across, whenever we talk about spirituality, it's all about inner journey. That's the first statement that I'm pretty used to coming across. And what I realized in my coaching, it's just not about an inner journey. It's also about understanding the reality of the object, the phenomena. So there is another dimension to it, just from saying it's an inner journey. It's like an ontological coaching or working on the beingness. It's way beyond that. It's all about the realization, as I said, about the misconceptions, these two misconceptions.
Thank you for answering. So my next question relates to the specialism of spiritual coaching. From your perspective, does a coach need to specialize in spiritual coaching, or can any coach be a spiritual coach?
Okay. Good question, Elena. Now, when you look at the word spiritual coaching, it consists of two words, right? Spirituality and coaching. It's not coaching spiritually. It's spiritual coaching. Let's see what's the primary, what's the secondary. What's the prefix, what's the suffix? It's spiritual coaching. That means a grounding, an awareness and understanding what spirituality is primary. So you say any coach can become a become a spiritual coach. I would think otherwise, in all fairness. And so spirituality, the understanding, the realization of the way that we look at this word spirituality, what spirituality means, like what I just put forward, that is, I would say, is needed. Coaching follows.
What are the benefits of spiritual coaching?
See, if you look at, I'm trying to differentiate between a typical coaching and when we have a prefix spirituality there with the coaching. What's the difference? Maybe that difference, if we understand, may give us some pointers towards the benefits, I would say. When we look at any coaching, whether it's a life coaching or a business coaching or any other type of coaching, there is a focus on a specific problem. Let's say, how do we start the coaching, any coaching conversation? We say, okay, what's on your mind? What do we have for a conversation today? That's our start point. And we use a problem statement to enter. Now, think about it. What happens is, suppose you are standing next to an ocean and you have lots of waves there. And I asked you, Elena, okay, you see a lot of waves in the ocean. I give you an iron. Go and iron out every wave in the ocean.
That's
is it doable? That's a big task, isn't it? Yes. Now, every wave is like a problem. You iron out one, there are many other. It's not about resolution. It's about dissolution in spiritual coaching. In the coaching, we keep on moving towards the cause. It's not a problem statement. We dissolve the problem. We don't resolve a problem. So the journey is not about, okay, what is it on your mind? What is the problem? What's the problem statement? And then trying to make it specific because there is a quantifiable outcome that we are looking after the end of every conversation. That's not what happens here. Yeah. This is more intrinsic, and this is like what I call a pathless path. It's like, what is this coaching? This coaching is realization that the journey is from here to here. That's a pathless path. Again, using Zen example.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens here. Now, so the realizations are far deeper. And what is so deeply resonate is what stays. So once there's no coming back here. It's not that there's a problem, you solve the problem, other comes and you're trying to like, no. It's just the realizations and realizations that happen. And every realization is like, it's not to be addressed. It doesn't require to be addressed the other time because there is nothing to address when you dissolve the problem. There's nothing left to address. And that's the huge shift that you experience. So I don't know I answer your question in terms of the benefit or not, but I forget about the benefit. This is the only way. You calculate benefits when there are multiple ways, and then you see, okay, this way is going to give me more benefits or less benefit compared to something else. There's a comparison. This is beyond comparison. What do you compare this against? This is it.
Is it a linear journey from your experience?
There is no journey. It's a pathless path. It's here to here. What journey? What does journey indicate? Journey indicates a movement. You're going somewhere. You're not going anywhere. You are here. Right here, right now. It's here to here. It's a realization. It can happen in a snap. Yes, there is a preparation. But there is no journey per se, I would say.
One of our guests, Cynthia, wants to ask you.
Please.
So, Cynthia, shall I read out loud your question, or would you like to unmute yourself and ask yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to ask, and they kind of interconnect, but not necessarily. Everybody who's probably, to what extent do you think they actually interconnect, and how do you think that spiritual coaching helps people who are religious? Because sometimes religious people depend on the religion to make them feel calm and in contact with themselves. So how much do you think spiritual coaching can actually help?
Sure. Let me read out, because I think, Cynthia, there was I couldn't hear some of the words. So may I just read out this question again, what's there in the chat?
Yes. Do you want me to read it for you, or
yeah,
you will read it?
I'll read it out. That's okay.
Oh, okay.
I know that there is and I'm just reading out, Cynthia, your chat here. I know that there is religion and there is spirituality. To what extent do you think they interconnect? And to what do you think spiritual coaching helps connect to religious people? Okay. There are three parts to it, the way I look at it. The first is the religion, there is spirituality. Now, the way we define spirituality, it's also beneficial to first understand what is the definition of religion. Again, I come from a country where this term is so used and so misused. To me, religion is realization. To me, religion is not about a particular sect like a Christianity or Buddhism, Jainism, Islam, or any of the Abrahamic sects. No. To me, the definition of religion is realization. I don't see any difference between religion and spirituality from the definition that I take it for religion, which is realization. And realization of what? Realization of the misconception of person and phenomena. Now, to prepare for this part, there are different ways to do that as a preparation. One may use the concept of a particular belief, beautiful, as a preparation, as an anchor, which could be a god, as a form, which could be a word, which could be a symbol, a faith, a belief. And that's beautiful. One can anchor into a meditative state, a mystical experience. One can anchor into, okay, for me, these two don't work. For me, it's all about action, selfless action. So one may anchor oneself into doing a selfless action. These are anchoring, these are preparation to one's taste. For another person, it may not be about a selfless action or a faith or a meditative or a mystical experience. It could be just about knowledge, a philosophy, a construct. That's where the uniqueness of the individuals, the coachees, comes in. Irrespective. And is there a gradation? Which one is a better or which one is a deeper or a shallow anchor? No. It depends upon person's preference, person's natural tendency, coachee's natural tendency. That wherever the coachee is, whether it's on the selfless action as an anchor, whether it's a particular faith, belief, whatever form, whether it's a mystical experience, whether it's a philosophical construct, it's okay. Because the realization is one, the preparation, it's individual specific. And that's the beauty of it. If all of us are absolutely like a same, then there is no uniqueness. And that's when we go on to, when we do a spiritual coaching, it's seeing that what is that anchor that really resonates with the coachee. It's not about the coach or what coach is, his preference is about the coachee, what works better for the coachee as an anchor. So it's all four of them are fine, whichever it is. But the key is not the anchor. Anchor is just a support, it's a preparation. The core is that realization. Realization about the word, realization about the self. That's the key.
Cynthia, does this answer your question, please? We can't hear from Cynthia, so we'll move on. I'm sure she'll share.
Yeah, thank you very much. That actually answers my question. Thank you very much.
Great. All right. So, what would be your piece of advice, Anish, to coaches that want to tap into spiritual coaching?
I think the first is the way I look at it, Cynthia, and again, I can talk from my own personal experience. It starts with the self. I would say, and even before I started even stepping out and have the courage to say, okay, there is spiritual coaching. It's my own journey, my own preparation in terms of clarity about, as I said, what is spirituality and what is it, what about it, what is that definition that resonates with me? So that preparation, that clarity, that understanding, that awareness about self, that is paramount. It's not, as I said, it's not something which is like a quick fix that you just solve a problem. So when we are in a bigger space, which is like, as I said, the dissolution of problems, it's not, so it's a state. So it's very interesting. Maybe this can again give certain insights. At one time, since Elena, we have, there are questions and questions and questions, and there are no answers. And then the realization happens at that point, you have all the answers, but there are no more questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's first working on self is what a coach needs to do before even offering out, even to the extent I'll give an example and let me take it from Buddhism as one of the traditions, which is they have two states, two type of, so they talk about nirvana, enlightenment, right? Now there are two levels, I would say there are two sub-traditions there. One just talks about self-realization, self-nirvana, which they call arhat. The second talks about bodhisattva, which is not about my own realizations. It's now with that realization, what do I do with it? But then in both the cases, the first is the self-realization. So, and this is where I strongly urge that spirituality is first, coaching is second. This is like, that's why spiritual coaching, I keep on mentioning that understanding, realizing the depth of this word spirituality, the deeper meaning of this for the self is very important. And that's what I would urge to any of the coach, to first go through the self-realization, the offering as a spiritual coaching would happen on its own. It comes out on its own when the readiness is there. It's not about reading books or words or theories or filling with knowledge. So this is more of a self-experience. It's experiential than theoretical. No fixed frameworks, no fixed constructs.
Mm.
It's the emanation that happens, it's the presence that gets created here. The coaching is more about creating providing of that presence, if I'm able to put it out. It's difficult to really put it out in words.
I heard you very carefully say there are no specific frameworks. But how do we go about it?
As I said, it's when the realization happens, when the self-realization happens, you would see that presence when you're there with the coaching. There is no fixed framework that these are the questions or this is the way, or A follows by B follows by C, Okay, there's nothing like that. It is just, and many a times when I'm coaching Elena, of the time, me and my coachee, we spend a lot of time just in silence, both of us. No words. Words are contamination. Words have limitations. It's the presence. Now, how do you put that into a framework? I couldn't. And what an amazing shift that you see in the coachee, just through silence. And you say, okay, no, every time is not silence. So sometimes, and many times it has just happened. So it's just on the spot when that presence is sensed, the dissolutions happen. So you're not trying to resolve anything. I keep on repeating this. Maybe I'm making it maybe sounding too esoteric, but this is what it is.
Thank you for sharing. I'm just very curious to understand if any of our participants would like to share their experience with spiritual coaching. Hannah, if I may, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if I recall correctly, you are into coaching, religious coaching, if I recall correctly. Please feel free to.
So I coach Muslim women, and it's interesting because I think often, I'm coaching them specifically around kind of disconnection from the religion. But actually, I think what is often underlying that is there is no spiritual connection. So, kind of there's a lot of focus around like the rules and the dogma and the opinions and the knowledge that people are, these women are trying to kind of, they think that they need more of that. But actually, when you dig a little bit, there's the lack of the spiritual connection. So they're not getting those moments where, like Dr. Anish was saying, there's silence, there's no words, there's quiet, there's that introspection, reflection, connection with nature, connection with the world around them, those chances to experience awe. Those kind of things just aren't on their radar. And I find that, and I really believe that often those things really need to come first to really build a solid foundation, and that space internally to then build from there, all of the things that they need to be doing in the religion. Like they need to be, first of all, they just need to be present, be connected. So I kind of always find, but I think there's also like sometimes a fear in, and I don't know what it's like with sort of different religious traditions, but there's sometimes a bit of fear around the word spiritual, because I think sometimes people can assume that it's that it's kind of a different sort of belief, rather than acknowledging that it's something that, religion or not, we should all have that spirituality, that time for spiritual connection in ourselves. It's so good for our well-being.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I hear you, Anna, and I've gone through with a different tradition, I would say, and you're working with a particular tradition. So I had something similar with a different tradition, and you said beautifully, it's about creating a solid foundation first. And that reminded me of, I would not say a framework or a construct, but let me give you a liner here, which for the creation of this, or let's say the preparatory stage, I would say, that solid foundation, what you talked about. So it's, we've all heard about this acronym SOS, right? It stands for Save Our Soul, right? Now this word save itself, I created it to an acronym. So SAVE, 4 preparatory stages. S stands for stability through simplicity. Simplify. The more you simplify, the more stable one would be. That's S. A, abundance through acceptance. V, vitality through vulnerability. And E, ecstasy through expandability. So now as a preparation, so you have 4 practices: simplicity, acceptance, vulnerability, expandability. Simplicity is where you realize that life is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live. Keep it simple. Easy, simple. Acceptance is where it's not a resignation, it's an active state, acceptance. When the acceptance comes in, yourself, so it's all about the status of self. With the acceptance, the status actually goes up, your own status goes up. And more the status goes up, obviously the energies, the whole alignment becomes solid. You're on a far solid ground. So acceptance. Vulnerability is where you move from being sharp to soft, or being from stiff to supple. That means you yield. It's like when the storm is there, is the most rigid tree that falls first. So it's like the grass which yields. Vulnerability again is not negative. It is an extremely positive preparation. Expandability. When you realize that you are the one, you are not a human being looking for a divine or a divinity. You're actually a divine having a human experience. It's a huge shift. Now these SAVE, what I call this, save our soul. This is how you save our soul. This is how you prepare. The preparation happens. And once I take my coaches through these preparations, and then the dance happens, then the realization, the way. So yes, the preparations are there. Again, to practice this SAVE, the anchor could be selfless action, could be meditation, could be, as I said, knowledge-based constructs, could be a faith, symbol-based or name-based or form-based, whatever it is. So the preparation is very much there. Now, but then it starts with self-preparation, and then you make your coachee prepare on this. But anyway, that's on the side note. So this is where I really like the way you said the solid foundation.
And Hannah actually says in the chat, this reminds me of the idea, I'm not the wave, I am the ocean.
Now think about it. You say, I'm not the wave, I am the ocean. How about if I say you are neither the wave or the ocean, rather you are both because you are water?
I love that. I really love that. Just going back to the foundation comment as well, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a lady who I've just started working with, and she was saying how she feels, and she kind of asked me, so, what should I do? Should I, go to some classes and, get more knowledge? And I used this, foundation idea with her, and it is like we wouldn't start, paying a builder to come and build our house without first investing in laying the foundations and making sure that that's strong enough to then support support the whatever religion it is, or whatever way of life, or whatever kind of personal development that goes on. We need that foundation first.
One of the, if I may, I'm gonna, so so there are multiple traditions in India, and so one of the book, it's called, maybe you've heard about this book called Bhagavad Gita. It's tuned to a particular tradition. It's more like a philosophical text. And it's very interesting because this Bhagavad Gita is about, okay, so the story goes like there are these two cousins who are fighting a battle. So one of the cousin has been wronged by the other. So there is this huge war, big war, like a world war that's going to happen. And just before the war, from one side you have the great warrior. So he asked his charioteer, take me away from my army and take me to a space which is right in between both the armies, because I want to disassociate myself and come to a ground of neutrality where there are no projections, no expectations, no assumptions. And from that ground of neutrality, let me look at the situation. So in the preparation that I go through with my coaches, Hannah, the first practice is the ground of neutrality. And this one practice I've experienced with many, many of my coaches, the foundation, it really gives a very solid foundation from the ground of when they practice the ground of neutrality. When they realize the projections, they realize the assumptions being made, they realize the expectations that are bubbling in. The simulations, both played or unplayed simulations, they have a visibility to that because there's a dissociation, there's a space that gets created. And that works beautifully on their self-status, is their own oxygen mask. So this solid foundation, I think it's critical, and then the rest of the things just flows. But yeah, that's just a beautiful. Thanks, Hannah. This was wonderful.
Anish, I trust you can also see the chats. What Hannah has typed. So thank you, Hannah and Anish. I trust coaching conversations must remain confidential. At least this is the universal code of ethics for coaches. But if there was one story that you can share with us from your experience that you believe that will help us all on the call and that are watching on LinkedIn and Facebook, what would that be?
I have the permission to share this, so I can share this.
Okay, thank you.
So this is also the background to the title of my latest book. It's called God is Fired.
Oh. What an interesting title. Have you published or
Yeah, it's
is that in the
published.
works?
It's there.
Oh, is
It's there
it?
on
Okay.
Amazon. It's online. And
Okay.
yeah, so there's a series that it's part of a series called The Mystic Millionaire. So the title of the book is God is Fired. And this is actually a true event. And it was a part of the part coaching, part beyond coaching that happened. And the person has gladly allowed me that, okay, you can share this out. So here goes. So this happened during the second wave of COVID. And so this gentleman, he, during one of the conversations, he said that, you know what, I think I'm going to lose my job. And he's at a very senior position in an organization. Because the business is not going good because of the COVID, the financials are looking bad, and there's a possibility that I may lose my job. So this was during one of the conversations. Later he comes back and so in another conversation a month later, so I get a message rather, he said that I want to have a conversation. Rather at this time I want to meet face. So he stays in the similar area that where I stay. So there's a possibility to meet, and the COVID has obviously it's gone down and the things have opened up. He said, I want to meet you in the evening and I want to have a face-to-face conversation. I said, okay. And we sat down for the conversation, and he said, the first thing he said, listen, you know what? I've decided from today onwards, I would stop going to the temple. So he was a regular, his place of worship. So he would go every day. In the evening, he would go there every day. He says, so today onwards, I've decided I'm not going to go to the temple to pray to God, which I used to do every day for so many years. I'll stop doing it. I said, okay, what happened? So he says, you know what? I had this inkling I shared with you, Anish, that I may lose my job. So I had asked God that, listen, there's a possibility that in the next few months, I'm going to leave, I'm going to be fired from my job, I'm going to lose my job, and I need another job before I lose this job. And today, I got fired, and I don't have another job. And I prayed to God. And I never asked him anything. This is the first time I asked him for something. It has not happened. So I said, okay, that's wonderful. It seems you have fired God. Hey, what do you mean? He says, yeah, God is fired on non-performance. You gave God a notice period. You also gave him a chance to improve his performance. And congratulations, today you did the right thing. He should be fired because he didn't perform. So thank you. I think you've done a great job, wonderful job of firing God today. So he kept silent. He said, okay. I thought, tell me one thing. You have fired him. That means at some point you must have hired him also. So how did you get him to sign the employment papers? You're to agree to your terms and conditions. How did that happen? Because I'm curious. I'm looking to put him in my employment now that you have fired him, so I can hire him. But just tell me, how did that happen? How did the hiring happen? How did you agree on to the KPIs or the KRAs for the God? And how did he agree to it? How did you make him sign on that? So for the next quite some time, I think almost 15 minutes, 12, 15 minutes, there was absolutely silence. And the realizations started happening. And that simple 4-5 lines of conversation over the 40 minutes, just this much. This was the total conversation for most, as I said, the total duration was. And today I see a marked shift in him. The way he approaches, the way he has settled down, the way the centering has happened, and the way the anchor continues to work beautifully for him. And that became the title of my book, God is Fired.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and that book has quite a few other instances, again, with the permission, obviously the names are changed, but with the permission of my coaches to share some of more realizations that has happened, Elena.
Very, very interesting. I have inserted a link to your book in the chat so that we can all keep a note. That's definitely on my list of books to read. So thank you so much for sharing. It's an interesting story. And in fact, I'm planning to share it with my 10-year-old later this evening and see his input. Because if I can share something personal, I've been thinking of, I don't want to say initiate spiritual conversations with my son, who is 10, as I said, but to start guiding him in that direction, if that is possible, of course. So that's an interesting book. Thank you. I will definitely use it. Great. We have a few minutes left. If any of our participants would like to make the most of the remaining of the time and get into a further conversation with Dr. Anish, please feel free to do so. We've covered a lot of ground actually, and Hannah says, "Thank you. That was a really interesting insight."
Thank you.
Great. We don't give advice in coaching. I'm well acquainted with that. And as you can probably notice, Anish, I love following rules. But if there was a piece of guidance, and I'm intentionally using the word guidance, because that's not counted as advice from my perspective, what would that be for our audience concerning spirituality?
Enlightenment through entertainment. This journey, if you call it a journey, because that's what the popular word is, though I keep on saying it's a pathless path from here to here, but still, I keep on hearing this, a spiritual journey, a spiritual...
Yes, it's very common,
so
very common indeed.
It's very common. So all I would say is that this is, on this journey, on this path, the more you move, the more the smile should become broader and broader.
Yes.
Full of fun, full of laugh, full of bliss. If this journey, any step, if the smile is turning upside down, or you come across any person claiming to be a spiritual biggie with a serious face, turn around and run away. It just brings in so much of bliss in you, because bliss is the true nature. We say Satchidanand is what we are. The awareness, the existence, the consciousness, the infinite bliss that we are. And if that's our true nature, that's what we really are, then that bliss on this step should just kept on enhancing, and it should. So all I would say is that every moment, every moment is joyful. Make it playful, and slowly it would automatically become prayerful. So a transition from painful to playful to prayerful. This is spirituality.
What a beautiful, blissful note to finish our masterclass. Thank you so much. My heart is full. Thank you.
It's my honor. Yeah.
We have tremendously enjoyed having you with us.
Yeah. And my gratitude, my acknowledgement and appreciation to all the participants, and Elena, especially to you, for asking such beautiful, beautiful question, or giving the space here for me to just share some of my thoughts, my experiences, and maybe certain insights. So I'm so thankful for that. Thank you very much.
Been a pleasure. Anish, how can the audience get in contact with you?
I think the best way to reach out to me is through WhatsApp and email, and I can put in my email here in the chat, and my contact number also. So I'm based in India. So this is an India number. This is my personal number. And this is my personal email. So just feel free to reach out. I'd love to have a chat. Here you go.
Thank you very much for sharing.